Think about some recent experiences that you've had. It might be that you've visited a zoo, or maybe you've been to the cinema or a museum. Can you think about how you would describe your experiences and what had happened and how you felt? So today's lesson is all about communicating about our experiences and also what we can do to keep the attention of our listeners. So let's have a look at my first example together. I went to the zoo last weekend. I saw many animals and my favourite was the giraffe. Although it was a bit smelly at times, it made me think I'd like to work with animals when I am grown up. So I then had a second read of my sentences and I was thinking about what I've done or what I can do to help keep the attention of our listeners. So to start with, I think our first sentence is really good because it introduces what we're going to be talking about. So then if somebody's interested or curious about going to the zoo and what I did at the zoo, they'll want to carry on listening. So I went to the zoo last weekend. That's a really good way to start for our listeners. You may then notice that I've got an arrow here between many and animals. I think it gives us an opportunity to add an interesting word, to add an adjective to describe the type of animals that we saw at the zoo. So how about the word exotic? Do you think our listener might like that word? I've also put an arrow where I've said it was a little bit smelly because I think that might give us an opportunity that as we're talking we can maybe use our facial expressions or maybe even a hand gesture. Do you think that would make the listener want to carry on listening? It might, mightn't it? So let's have a go at reading through this again, trying to use our facial expressions and also including our interesting word there as well. Read along with me if you can. I went to the zoo last weekend. I saw many exotic animals and my favourite was the giraffe. Although it was a bit smelly, it made me think that I would like to work with animals when I am grown up. That sounds good, doesn't it? Let's have a look at another example. It is my second example. This time I'm talking about my experiences when I went to the cinema. I will read it through, you can listen or you can read it along with me. Last night I went to the cinema to watch the new dinosaur film. One of my favourite things about going to the cinema is sitting on one of the cool chairs and the smell of popcorn that fills the air. I feel pleased I've been. Now I can talk to my friends about the film because they've seen it as well. Next, I had a second read of my sentences, thinking about how I was trying to keep the attention of our reader. So I've put an arrow where I have talked about my favourite things I like when I'm at the cinema. So talking about sitting on one of those cool chairs and smelling the popcorn. Why do you think this could keep the attention of the reader? It's because then it's giving your reader or listener the opportunity to imagine themselves being there too. Because if you've been to the cinema, straight away you can imagine yourself sitting on one of those chairs and the smell all around you of that yummy popcorn. I've also put an arrow For the sentence, I feel pleased I've been. Now I can talk to my friends about the film because they've seen it as well. So telling the listener or the reader how you feel is also a really good way of keeping their attention. Here's my third and final example that we're going to go through together. And this is me communicating my experience of visiting the Museum Louvre in Paris. Let's have a read together. When we were in Paris, my family and I visited the Louvre Museum. As we entered, I was blown away by so many wonderful sights. I was really excited to see the famous painting of Mona Lisa. I expected it to be larger. Nevertheless, I felt lucky to have the opportunity to see it in real life. I have got an arrow pointing at the word Louvre. This is because I think when we're communicating our ideas and our experiences, it's good for the listener if we can give them precise language and information. So it wasn't any old museum, it was the Louvre Museum, incredibly famous museum in Paris. So already the listener might be, wow, okay? Another reason I think this is quite good for keeping the listener's attention is because I've given them a piece of information that might surprise them. Can you see what it is? Yeah, it's talking about the size of the painting of Mona Lisa. So often when we see it on TV, we don't really get a clear sense of its size. So I've now informed them that actually when I saw the painting, I was a little bit surprised. It was just an ordinary portrait-size painting, when maybe I thought it was more like a poster size. Just to finish this little lesson off, I would like you now to think about the things that we've talked about and pause the video and have a go at reading one or two of our experiences texts, trying to use your voice and your facial expressions and maybe your hand gestures, thinking about you want to keep hold of our listeners' attention. So I'm going to have a go at reading this one out again, trying to use the tone of my voice to show when I'm excited or surprised. And then if you pause the video and you have a go at doing that in front of somebody at home, then that would be a nice way to finish today's session. Okay? When we were in Paris, my family and I visited the Louvre Museum. As I entered, I was blown away by so many wonderful sights. I was really excited to see the famous painting of Mona Lisa. I expected it to be larger, but nevertheless, I felt lucky to have the opportunity to see it in real life. Okay, you have a go at reading these texts, trying to use your voices as well to keep the attention of your listener. Good luck, and I bet you will be great.